this isn't going to work again. Instagram is really the one that I want to work. Hello, everyone on YouTube. I believe we're live on YouTube.
Okay.
We're going to try and get live on Instagram here. And if it doesn't work with the second try, which it's not. Sorry, Instagram, come over to TikTok. Should I just go on my phone? Just go live from my phone on Instagram? No. All right. We're live on YouTube. We're live on TikTok. Those are the two that get the weird schedule. We're in BAKU. We're making it work. Saturday afternoon here in Toronto. How you doing, Mike?
I'm doing all right, man. I'm doing all right. I was able to consume most of the practice sessions in qualifying, so I'm up to speed. I'm looking to have a good conversation. But you said that you had some leans that you already wanted to get into. Do you want to?
I do.
Take me through a few things.
You know, like we don't want to make the show boring here, but I'd go as far to say that I think I have 3 that are going to be on our slip in 30 minutes or 45 minutes from now. So
it's maybe the craziest take I've ever heard in my life.
I have 3 that I feel fairly confident about talking about. And let's start right at the top.
You have to go through the gauntlet that is my mind in order to get.
Let's start at the top, Mike. The king of the castle, Lord Percival, Charles Leclerc's on pole. He loves this circuit. I mean, what he ended up getting, like 2/10 over Oscar. He put in a flyer lap. And the way that everyone else was talking about the Ferraris, Checo, Oscar, everyone kind of assumed that Leclerc is great here and it's going to be his weekend, and then he delivered. So we've got him in P1, Oscar's P2, and then Sainz, who typically doesn't do very well around here, hooked up a qualifying session and he's P3. So where I'd like to start, and I like this a lot, most team points. Ferrari's minus 250. It's slightly outside of our window. I know we like to be the 200 to 200, but I like this a lot. We've got Lando's out in Q1, so he's, I mean, what is he going to get? 1 point in Q10 or in P10? I'm not even sure he gets into the points. You got the Red Bulls down in 4 and 6. You got the Mercs in, what would they be, 5 and 7? I don't have the grid in front of me, but here we go. For the people,
5.
You got the Red Bulls in 4 and 6, the Mercs in 5 and 7, and a lone McLaren up there to battle them for points. If Leclerc wins, virtually no one, like I don't think anyone can do the math to get 25 points. What would 18, 15? So Checo would get 12, Max would get 8. That's 20. They don't get them.
No.
And if Oscar wins, and Leclerc's P2, we just need Sainz to get 8 points to cover that up. 18, 15, 12, 10, 8. He can be in the top 6. He's minus 1,000 to be in the top 6. I like this a lot.
I mean, I like it too. It's just we're paying minus 250 for it. I can't argue the logic behind it. You have the car starting P1 and P3. You have potential team strategy against the car in second and everybody behind you. So I can't, there's not a lot I could say to try to move off that outside of the value. I guess that's the only negative of the bet. I think this is a track that many expected that Ferrari would perform well on. And I think having Carlos Sainz qualify P3 is that's the best possible situation for them.
I don't think we should move away from this because of the value. If it was 200,
that's also fair too. Yeah, that's fair too. I would love it at 200.
So what's 50 points? When admittedly,
at this point, yeah,
we kind of need a winning weekend here. Baku's a tough.
We do.
It's a tough circuit. There's always carnage here. There hasn't been a race with less than 2 DNFs in Azerbaijan. I mean, I'm holding a future hot pick that there is going to be at least 2 DNFs. So I don't think we should be scared of a minus 250. It is the shortest one of the 3 that I like, and that's why I started with it. And I don't feel, I mean, we can talk more about how to capitalize on 2 Ferraris at the top where no one else has 2 cars at the top. I did look through all of the team match bets.
Yeah. nothing.
I don't love minus 225. I think Oscar could potentially win this race. Like, I don't want to pick between Charles and Oscar.
No. No, that's, I think for 25 points, you might as well just make sure that you just get the most team points. I think you're 100% right on that.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good choice, because I do think that we maybe want to consider Oscar Piastri to win the race too. I think I saw some pretty good value for that.
I mean, we'll talk about that. That's not one of the three that had starred. The other thing that you could look at the Ferraris is both on the podium is plus 137. Now let's make sure, because I wrote all these down an hour ago, so they could be changing. Both cars podium, but now this is a 2-car bet. Okay, most points is kind of a 2-car bet, but Leclerc winning the race could just win most points with Lando nowhere to be found, and so Oscar finishes P2 and McLaren gets second most points. So I mean, plus 125 for them both on the podium.
It's not in a situation where you lose. Like, well, I mean, if you lose Leclerc, it's going to be difficult. But if you lose a Carlos Sainz, for example, like you could run into problem with the Red Bulls and the Mercedes making up positions, obviously, and just having more team points if you lose a car. But of course, they have the same, you could say, theoretical percentage chance of having a car come out of the race too. So I shy away from it for that reason. Right?
Maybe even a marginally higher percentage chance, given the fact that the Red Bull's an unreliable machine this weekend, especially for Max Verstappen. Like, the Ferrari seems hooked up. If you're going to put a percentage chance on cars coming out, I'd say it's a little less likely the Ferraris come out because they're hooked up and they seem reliable in their balance.
They seem to have, I agree. So they seem to have, they're not struggling the same way as other cars are to find the grip. And I think just inherently the Ferrari is a little bit more compliant, right? So you've got that aspect of curb riding. There's less chance that they're gonna be off the racing line or going over the curbs and losing that contact patch with the tarmac and losing the grip and going into the wall, because I think they're probably the most compliant car out there. So I do like that. Like, maybe you can make an argument that, this track suits the car's DNA, and these 90-degree turns and the straights and the quick acceleration is kind of what the Ferrari wants. I mean, that's why they did so well in Monaco, right? That's why Leclerc performed so well in Monaco. So I'm very much on board with minus 250. Actually, the more you think about it, it's surprising it hasn't moved further, right?
It's not that short. I don't hate minus 250. And in the course of this show, we've been on minus 350s in the past. Like, I know we want to try to stay in that window.
It's not too short. Yeah, it's not too short.
Ferrari, most points. Minus 250. We got to capitalize on Ferrari being the team that's working this weekend and having both cars up there, and I think this is the best way to do it.
I agree with that.
Okay, let me take you to, which one do I want to talk about first? Oh, there's a Ferrari connection for this one. So I'm going to take it down the grid a little bit. There's a matchup within a team that actually they give the drivers a toss-up. They have them equal odds to beat each other. Race match bets. And it's the Haas drivers. And the Ferrari connection is, we've seen Oliver Behrman complete a race as a rookie. Yeah. It was in a Ferrari, different machine. But I like the way he looks this weekend. And I like the matchup. Is it still equal? Yeah, minus 120 for both of them. I like Behrman over Hulk in this race. Do you have any initial thoughts before I give you some of my reasoning? You're making a face.
I like the fact that the track in Jeddah is not the same.
It's not the same downforce circuit spec.
Yeah,
but it's a street circuit.
Yeah. It's a street circuit and it's low grip. It's out in the desert. Like, I mean, there's some similarities, and we saw him perform extremely well earlier in the year. I think Behrman just traditionally has been really good at Baku, right, in F2.
Mm-hmm.
So
he has 2 race wins in F2 at Baku.
Yeah.
The compounds, I did go back. I looked, was Saudi the same compound range? It wasn't. It was the middle. Yeah, it was the 2, 3, 4. Now we're on the 3, 4, 5. But 3 and 4 are the 2 race tires, and there is overlap to what, like, it is. They are using 2 of the same tires. So my biggest concern of suggesting something with a rookie is, well, they're going to lose their tires, just like Oscar Piastri still trying to learn the tires. But with Behrman, we've seen him complete a Grand Prix.
Yeah. No, this is a good track Like I don't think there's a lot of concerns about graining and tire wear. It's pretty well a bang on one stopper that's going to be hard medium, and I do like that. Chaps.
Behrman
I like
starts
that angle.
11th. Hulk starts
Yeah, I
14th.
like the angle. I
The
like the
the
angle.
messaging coming out of qualifying, Behrman, of course, 2-time winner here in F2. Hulk
Yeah.
says, this track has never suited me. Never really jived
Yeah.
with the layout and
Yeah.
the specs here.
I saw that. Yeah.
And then, so my biggest concern is it's a rookie. Can he complete the race? And we've seen it, and we've seen it on a street circuit. Because I'm also going to talk about Colapinto, but we don't have that confidence of seeing him do it before. So
I actually like. I would argue that the mentality between them. So Behrman's got to drive for next year, right? Like he knows
in this team,
he's in this team, right? So I don't think that he needs to go and overdo it. He doesn't have to show something like incredibly special to get a seat in with this opportunity. Which I think for him on a track where track position is going to be really important, having that lead already over Sonoda, I think is going to be able to hang around. I don't know if the Haas has enough pace to take over Albon, but if he can keep close to the points and stay, keep his nose clean, then I think it's entirely possible, right? And I think Hulkenberg, there's every chance that he gets caught. Like the fact that he's surrounded by Gasly and Stroll, I mean that's not a great spot to be, right on the grid. Right. I like that, Chaps. I am not opposed to, I get it. You take a chance with a rookie on a street track, but he already had his shunt. He knows. What I like is he was pretty clear. He understood completely why he had the accident that he had, and it was, he started pushing right away, like for a hot lap in FP3.
Yeah, right? he didn't account. He expected that the track evolution was still there from FP2. Yeah,
yeah, and that's a relatively simple mistake to make. Obviously, it's dusty, it's windy. The track just wasn't the same level of compliance and evolution, right? So, okay, hey man, I don't mind that at all. Well, I think again, people are probably shying away from it because he has crashed and he's a rookie, and I think there's some value there for sure.
Well, you mentioned it there too. He could get into the points, but the beauty of this is they could finish 16, 17. All I'm saying is he's going to finish ahead of Hulk.
I love the one-on-one. I'm a fan of that. One-on-one for plus money is like, I'll take it.
Well, no, it's minus. Minus 120.
Money. Sorry. Oh, it's minus 120. Sorry.
Minus
I thought you said it was plus 120.
No.
Okay, I got you. Okay,
but this is back in our window. Okay. I mean, that's great value.
No. It is. I think it's great value. It's almost even, so.
Okay.
Hey, okay, I'm listening. I'm
just saying, 2 for 2.
You take me. Okay, man. You've making some good arguments here. I actually am the tabula rasa. Like I was a blank slate. I'm happy to hear what you have to say because even just in what I was watching, I didn't get a chance to go through the book in detail, but I didn't have any like really heavy leans. So I do like both of these approaches so far.
Okay. My next one of the 3 that I really liked is we're going to talk about that last points position or potentially the last 2 points positions. And I'm looking at the Williams drivers. I was very impressed with the Williams. I think that this is very likely going to end up being an Alex Albon train with the third sector here and their straight line speed. It's very difficult to keep up right on someone's gearbox through that second sector and then leading into the third sector. And I think Albon's just going to be able to kind of get his elbows out and make it very difficult for anyone to pass them. Now, there's 3 different lines here. I like Colapinto in the points. I like Albon in the points a little bit better. Now, he starts behind. They start 9 and 10. Albon's behind because they left his diffuser or whatever, the cooler, in his car when he tried to pull out for his Q3 run.
Yeah, the box fan, yeah.
Both Williams in the points is plus 200. I don't think that that's the one we do. I don't think we do a 2-car bet around the streets of Baku involving a rookie. But I do. Albon in the points is minus 163. Colapinto's even money. But the one that I starred that I would suggest is Albon stays in the points. What do you think about that? How do you feel about that? He starts 10th.
What's the race match bet?
Between them?
Minus 250. Yeah, it's minus 250
he's favored in
for
the
Albon
race
behind
match
him.
bet.
So I love that. I mean, that does make a lot of sense for sure.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Albon creates a train to give Colapinto space in front of him. Like this,
that's entirely possible.
If they go through turn 1 and Colapinto stays ahead, Colapinto, I got to get that right. It's not Cal. Colapinto stays ahead. Like, I could see Alex just kind of creating a train, backing everyone up, and holding onto that P10 with dear life. But if he gets ahead, he's going to do the exact same thing, and maybe Franco falls backwards. I'm not sure if he can really be the train leader, the conductor. Alonso's a bit of an outlier in P8. Does he even stay in the points? That could be a free position to move forward.
I think he probably does. Like, I would be surprised if he doesn't. I think on race pace they looked, comparable, or maybe even a little bit stronger than the Williams. Again, the Williams is a very different car to what we've seen previously. They did achieve what Vowles wanted, which is to become a lot more well-rounded.
Right.
But typically they've looked pretty good at this track. So I like the Williams. I like the Williams choice. I like the minus 163.
Colapinto also didn't get a long run because of his crash. So he has no long run data. I don't really see the
threat from behind. I agree. Like, I don't really see the threat from behind Albon. I like the mushy middle because when you take those point position bets, if something happens to any car in front, you're just inheriting a position. And I think that value is understated in some ways when they set the line. So I like the bet, Chaps. I do. I'm very interested in that one too. Are you interested in looking at Fernando Alonso at all? So the reason I said that is because, we've been talking about the Williams, and he's in that group with both. So we talked about Behrman and Albon and Colapinto.
I didn't love any group.
And you get Fernando Alonso with track position at even money to beat the guys behind him, like Fernando Alonso.
It's Albon's. I might be just being too scared of the Aston Martin, but I have no read on them. You get one radio message, this isn't even a car that we're trying to drive around. And then out of nowhere, Alonso does, what Alonso does and wrings everything out of it. He's in 8th, but Stroll's in 15th. Where is the real pace in this car?
I don't think that, Stroll finishing in 15th in qualifying on a street track is not that isn't weird, right? I don't think that's a reflection of the car's true pace, to be completely honest. And I think Lance, probably could have been fighting for a top 10 position at a track that's not Baku. I think that, Aston Martin's been trying a few different things. I don't know necessarily that the Williams has closed that gap to the race pace of the Aston Martin, to the point where you're really concerned. Colapinto is. So you're concerned that Albon finishes ahead of Alonso then from plus 100.
Yeah, that's why I didn't jump on this group. It's Albon finishing ahead of Alonso. And sorry, I don't want to be dismissive, but when I was looking at the best line for the Williams, I came in here and looked very hard at these groups. And I didn't like it because it just feels like a toss up. Whereas Albon just being in the points ahead or behind of Alonso doesn't feel like the same toss up to me.
Your point of one of the reasons that you think that Albon's going to be fairly static in his position, in the point scoring position that he's in, is one of the reasons why I like Fernando Alonso, because I do think that there's going to be a big train that builds up behind Albon. You said that you think that Colapinto might get a bit of a gap. So then what are you worried about Fernando Alonso getting beaten out by a rookie in a car that probably doesn't have better race pace than his car? Are you worried about
I'm worried. I don't know Aston Martin. Are they going to pull Alonso in to test a fast lap procedure? What's going on?
We can have hard feelings, but we can't let it affect how we bet. No, I have hard feelings still. I do. We can't let it affect how we bet. And I'm not suggesting that we don't take this minus 163 bet. I think you came with 3 good bets, dude. I'm happy to consider all of them, and perhaps we take them all. Because of that minus. So we have the minus 250 on the ticket. It doesn't mean we don't have to go trying to scrape value out somewhere. But the fact that this is an even money bet, and I'm a little bit confused at why it's not a minus, it hasn't dropped below even money.
It's Albon. I think
really think that the Williams are people really think the Williams, Albon could have had. There could be way more pace in the Williams. He didn't get a chance to do that final.
I think that's just it.
Flyer.
Yeah.
And people might be thinking he should be starting ahead of Fernando Alonso. That's entirely possible too.
Do you remember what their Q2?
It makes me like the Albon. It makes me like the Albon bet. It's hard to say.
Do they show two Q2 results? Where would I find that, do you think? Looking for it live on the show.
I think you can. Can you find it on the FIA website? You might be able to.
I went to Formula1.com. Why don't I just do like BAKU Q2 results? I'm just curious when Alex actually got to set a lap.
I think they were like way up there, weren't they? I think both him.
Well,
both
so
him
much of it is timing.
Q2.
No, Alonso. It looks like Alonso was ahead.
Alonso was ahead in Q2.
Qualifying. Yeah. Okay. Q1. Well, Albon was P2 in Q1. So much of this can be timing. Though. Alonso got through in 15th.
He went super late. Yeah. He went through. That's
Q2.
all
Albon was 10th.
Especially Q1.
Colapinto was 6th. Yeah, I don't think you can read too much out of it. So much of it is just when you did your lap.
No, it's all. Yeah, it's such high track evolution that it's just difficult to say, right?
I mean, I'm trying to stay open minded too. But I don't know. I mean, we're gonna be texting each other during the race, and I'll say I shouldn't have been scared of the Fernando bet, but I do have. I mean, if we wanted plus money, I do have a plus money lean. That's interesting.
Okay, what is that? Let's just hear it. We might as well have the conversation.
Well, should I? Let me put the Albon. Do you like the Albon?
I can't I unless we see something that we like more that has better value. Like I'm 100%. Like you talked the big game when you came in with those 3 bets, but I like all 3 of them. Like I don't have a reason to refute any of them, which is just generally not the case. Usually you pull stuff out and I'm like, no, I shoot that down right away. So
there's been one time,
good on you.
One time in the history of the show where I came in with that mentality and we ended up taking them all. I don't know if we swept it, but we definitely won that weekend. So,
was it Monza last year? I think it was Monza last year, actually. So
maybe
I think you might be right.
Let's go the longest that I have. It's a 3-car bet, Mike.
Oh, can I just say no and you don't tell me what it is? I don't want to hear it at all. A 3-car bet?
It's a combo TriCast. You can guess it by me saying 3.
That's horrible.
Combo TriCast.
No.
In any order. Plus 350.
No, because man, like the weirdest part is like, and I know that
who gets on this podium?
This would be the time that Checo gets on the podium. I don't know. Like,
Checo?
He could.
Yeah. Well,
I like on the podium.
I actually like this one better, but Oscar has great odds to lead lap 1. That's it's crazy to go lap 1 bet. It's a short run to the start. There's 2 ways that it gets done. He could get turn 1 and maybe it's scruffy, so he actually gets it with a bit of a gap. Or he trails in turn 1, but then like actually gets it in the slipstream coming down the straight. Although I think it would be in the braking zone, so he probably would be P2. I don't know. It was plus 333. I don't love it, and we don't need it. But Oscar lead lap 1 was plus 333 for a guy in P2 that starts well. I mean, he overtook Lando on the start last week.
Yeah, but they've also had, like you think about the wheel spin that they had in the Netherlands. Like I don't know if McLaren has sorted out every aspect of their launch. Mm-hmm. Right, but I wouldn't say like of the top 4 teams, they might still be the weakest of all of them in terms of
at the
getting a good launch, right?
Yeah,
and it's not because like Oscar I think has the skill to be the best at it. Like he seems like he's got the skill to be the best at everything, but I think there's a risk there that just maybe it's his machinery that holds him back, and that could compromise his ability to get the lead, right?
It could be. Yeah, I didn't love that. I mean, I actually do like the chalk combo TriCast in any order.
I mean, I like Oscar winning what is Oscar top 2 and what are those like? Not
Oscar top 2's minus 150.
This 150 is kind of okay. We're kind of
you could go without Charles.
Well, my point on McLaren
minus
and Oscar
120 without Charles.
General, that's actually not a bad bet either. Does he get undone by? I mean, he's going to get the full attention of the McLaren strategy, which, again, the problem with them has been this.
Is that a good thing, though?
No, I think it is. It's obviously a good thing.
Are they going to overthink it?
Having it. No, and for Ferrari is obviously going to prioritize Leclerc. They always do. Sainz is leaving the team. It makes total sense. He's the lead car anyway.
Yeah,
my only point on, I think McLaren has. I think Oscar is just going to have way better race pace than the Ferrari, and I know that. I mean, this is a track where it looks like Ferrari maybe was a bit more balanced in quality and race pace because of the wing that they took. They took that really, they got a small wing, right?
Mm-hmm.
and I don't think it's going to be an issue with losing their tires or anything like that. I just think that we know that the McLaren is the fastest car, and this is in a weird outlier track, and Ferrari seem to be really great at the weird outlier tracks, and it's a car that suits the DNA. But I think once there's so much track evolution here that the issue, and I said this is why I picked Lando in my hot pick, and I honestly think it was a good hot pick. It's just shitty that the way it worked out for Lando, but I think like once the rubber gets laid down and it's already there, and once it gets laid down over the first couple of laps, I think he's going to be flying. Like I don't know if there's, I don't think the Ferraris are going to be. I think he's going to just beat the Ferrari on race pace this week, and it'll just be the opposite of what happened in Monza.
I don't disagree.
You could argue that, you could argue that, yeah, it's great. It's amazing that Leclerc won, but Oscar could have easily annihilated everybody in that race if they pulled Leclerc in. Like they won because of the strategy. Of course, they didn't win because of the car performance. He's right there.
We could get him plus 162 to just be ahead of the Ferraris. Is that the same thing as no? Without Leclerc is smarter, or it gives you more options. Without Leclerc minus 120, so Oscar can win or P2 to Leclerc, or you can get him at plus 162 to beat both Ferraris. It's probably the without Leclerc is probably the way to go.
Yeah, because he has to. That way he doesn't have to win. I don't know, man. Like we don't have to. I like the Alex Albon bet. I like it at minus 163. I like the Behrman at minus 120. Like I'm not. My only reservation is you're landing a lot in the middle there, and those guys are right. Like just it's Baku. You already took under 18.5 for a reason because things happen, and it's just like, do you need to diversify? Are we going to be kicking ourselves because we didn't diversify? You know what I mean?
I mean, yeah, I hate thinking this way, but Albon's 10 and Behrman's 11. Any sort of incident at the start, and we lose 2 bets.
Right? That's my only concern, because I actually think that they are good bets. But like, do you need to diversify for that exact reason? And again, it's in the back of your mind because you made that hot pick that it's extremely likely that something does happen, that the flags do come out. And I'm not trying to I don't want to steer us into doing something that we both don't, because I'm comfortable with Albon. I would be disappointed if Behrman and Albon run into each other, because let's be honest, that's the kind of shit that happens to us, right?
Right.
Anything that can happen will happen.
McLaren minus 188 to beat Red Bull. If we're so high on Oscar, like, is this is dumb to not take something that's in our window where he starts so far ahead. Well, 2 positions to Checo, but I mean it's a lot of positions to Max.
Well, no, but I mean if you take he starts in the right position if you take it without Leclerc, right? Like I guess just you could be concerned about Carlos, which is fair. I'm not really that concerned about Carlos beating Oscar, but I mean Carlos will send it, right? He'll take a chance.
The advantage that Carlos has is he can be the one that undercuts. And like we have seen it this year where they think it's the secondary strategy and it ends up being the preferred strategy. And then everyone at the end of the race is saying, "Oh, Ferrari took it away from Charles by letting Sainz undercut them." Like he's the second driver that gets to play around and find that sweet spot to pull into the pits. But I think so I agree with you that Oscar, I expect him to do well. If we're saying that, is there any way that Red Bull beats him without incident?
Probably not. Like Checo's not. He might get on the podium, maybe he gets that 3rd spot, but he's not like.
Checo thought that his lap was scruffy, that he left some on the table. He thought P2 was his target today. Like that was he said Leclerc was going to get pole. Yeah. He thought P2 was his target.
He had good pace. Max, somehow Checo is the one that concerns me, because Max, I think he was saying that they made some setup changes from FP3 to quali that actually really significantly impacted the balance of the car and made it way worse for him to drive. And
it's unpredictable on him again.
Right? So
yeah.
Checo, they seem to have a lot of potential. So they were giving up a lot of speed on the straights. It looked like they were really great, right? They were really great in Sector 2.
To Mercedes. Like, are the Mercs going to get them? And then they're nowhere close to Oscar. No, I agree with you. I would go I as well. Also, the Red Bulls, if they did take a bigger wing, their DRS will have a bigger impact.
100%. Well, that's usually what they do, right? They try to. They know that their DRS is the most powerful, so they take the wing to protect the tires. It's just like, I don't know how much of an advantage that's going to give you.
It's more the fact that they're in the midfield. Like, they could have done that, but then Max is on pole and leads the whole race, and that DRS never comes 100%. Into play.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
The more I think about it, this feels pretty sharp. Oscar P2.
What? Oscar P2, Oscar P2, like, finishes P2? Sorry, what do you
No,
what do you
versus the Red Bulls. Like,
versus the Red Bulls, yeah.
We're okay. Let me try to sum it up this way. If Lando's in the mix, even if he's right behind Verstappen, McLaren to beat them is what, minus 250? Like, we're gaining value here because Lando sucks, but we're saying we don't need Lando for this bet to win. So who cares about him not being there?
Yeah. Yeah, it's, Oscar has to survive, obviously, but that's fine. That's why you're getting the odds that you're getting. Like you said, you only have one bullet versus two. Is there, like, how many restarts are we going to get? How many safety cars? How many virtual safety cars bunching up the pack? What impact does that have? I don't. If he gets a cheap pit stop, that's great. You can't really predict. I guess that's what's going to happen. I think the fact that his teammate is out of sequence is probably helpful.
I guess what I'm debating is, like, do we take this in the McLaren versus Red Bull instead of the Ferrari most points? I still feel really good about Ferrari most points. And I'm not sure we need 4 minus money bets.
No, we don't. We don't. That's also an interesting perspective.
I just don't know who gets who. No one else can get the most points here.
Oh, not unless something happens, obviously, right? It
right.
doesn't seem that
but
way.
We can't bet on
unless yeah, like I don't know, man. Like, there's going to be a lot of, like, just, like, cannibalism happening in that upper, like, 7 through 4 or 3. George and Checo right beside each other.
Yeah.
That could be a nightmare, right? That might give Carlos a chance to get free. I mean, it's odd that it is minus 250. That's not, like, I don't, man, oh man. I think the Ferrari generally probably is a little bit better on. Ooh, lost my screen there. The Ferrari is generally a little bit better, more balanced on race pace too, so they probably do have a little bit left. They are good on their tires. That's not going to be an issue. It's not like the Red Bulls are going to get them with a big discrepancy in tire wear. Like, minus 250 is a really good bet.
I think the Red Bulls are going to be in it. They're going to be fighting the Mercs this race, and then we're just going to have a 2 against 1 up at the top. That's my prediction.
Yeah, that's fair. Like, their race ends up becoming with Mercedes relatively quickly, and that's probably seems that's where Mercedes is right now too. Mm-hmm. I mean, okay, well, based on some of the, I think I saw 2 sets of, like, race pace is like fucking, you can't, none of that shit matters. Actually, I take it back. None of that stuff matters. Mm-mm. These projections as to what race pace is, it's fucking irrelevant. It doesn't matter. What do you? Okay, well, where are you landing here with this? So what? Like, again, the reason I'm looking at the top was because we're not going to take both Piastri and Ferrari. That doesn't make any sense, right? Because we want to diversify. We know that that's a key at this track.
I'm not going to shy away from Albon and Behrman being right beside each other because the bet doesn't need them to finish beside each other.
Oh. Well, it needs them both. It needs them to finish. Obviously, it needs both of them to finish.
What if Hulk comes out of the race and then Behrman just finishes?
I mean, well, he's not. We're betting against him. He's not going to come out of the race. He's probably going to finish in 6th, right? Like, we're betting against him now. We bet with him where did we bet with him? In Monza? No, where was it?
Yeah, last week.
Wherever we bet with him, yeah.
Yeah.
And so now he's going to have the fucking race of his life, yeah.
where I'm at right now is I'm just debating if we want the McLaren or the Ferrari, and maybe it's
Ferrari
just
bet.
three.
Well, that's what I
maybe
mean,
it's just a 3- money slip, and we're okay with that.
That's fine.
I do
I'm okay
like
with
the
that.
chalk podium, but we don't have to be on that if you
No.
don't want to.
No, I don't like the chalk podium.
And for the record, I did have McLaren and Red Bull written down and starred, and then I unstarred it in favor of the Ferrari one before the show. So it was something that I came in liking.
Yeah. It is odd to say this, but like in some ways, the Ferrari bet is kind of a 2-car bet, right? And I'm trying to use that. Is that the logic that I need to be able to just take the longer bet with Oscar? And I feel pretty comfortable that he's going to finish ahead of Sainz. That means he has to beat Perez. You might as well, like, is Sainz a bigger threat than Checo? I guess is my question, and I actually don't know the answer to that question.
They feel like an equal threat to me.
Equal threats.
I think they're probably equal footing this weekend. Sainz is in better form in maybe a better car, but doesn't like the track, and this is Checo's track. He's the most successful driver on the grid here.
So if your answer to that question is they're an equal threat, then is the answer not just take without Leclerc? If they're the same level of threat, then why should we give up any value? Should we just take the -120 versus the -180 or whatever it is?
No, I like that the least. You're saying Piastri, like, effectively P2 behind Leclerc?
To beat both of them. Yeah, if you think they're both the same level of threat, then how do you justify taking Oscar to finish ahead of Checo versus Oscar to finish ahead of Carlos?
Well, I like Ferrari to finish most points. Is my favorite out of the three.
-250, yeah.
Because Leclerc can win, Oscar can win. And Ferrari gets most points either way. Like, we're not...
What would Red Bull need to do to beat these? Like, if Carlos has a bad race and Charles finishes in second here, like, that's all I'm thinking. Like, if it's a Red Bull 3-4, Oscar wins, Charles is what's like a 2-5 versus a 3-4. We've done this before. I can't remember now.
So Oscar wins, so he gets 25.
Yeah, we're not worried about
Leclerc's
that.
2.
Yeah.
That's 18. That's where Sainz just needs to be top 6. If Leclerc's P2, Sainz needs to be top 6.
If Red Bull's 3-4.
Oh, if Red Bull goes 3-4, then they would get 15. Yeah. They would get 27. So they would actually win unless Oscar got the fastest lap. Oh, no, they would win. They would win. No.
Ferrari would win. Sorry, what is 2?
And then what Sainz? And then Sainz is 5. And so then Sainz gets 10 points to Leclerc's 18, 28 would be the highest. Oscar would have 25, Red Bull would have 27, Ferrari would have 28 in that scenario.
That actually makes me feel pretty good. Like, if he can hold a P5,
he's minus 1,000 to P6.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, right?
And if he goes P6, then Red Bull needs to be 3-4, and I still think George is there. I think Red Bull's battling.
He's there.
Mercs.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, no, I'm not disagreeing with that either.
Lando's not there. And then the next set of the 2 cars is 4 and 6. Like, they're so far back. It's Ferrari's the only team that has 2 cars performing.
So then we can't lose sight of. So I don't think that Lando's a threat. Like, so where does Lando land in the points that it fucks up a 2-5? If he gets 20, so if they have 27 and Oscar's at 25, Lando gets to P
ninth is 2 points. No, and then he would need he would need 8th.
I mean, this is I could argue that they have the most race pace in the car. I think it's entirely possible, but I don't know. Lando even said, like, it's just everybody in front of him is just going to take, like, no wing and just be so difficult to overtake.
Well, he's talking about the 2 Williams in front of him is what he's talking about.
Yeah, it's going to be tough to get by them.
I mean, the potential for Lando in the best car to sneak into P8, maybe.
It's not crazy.
It's not crazy.
And then if Oscar wins, like, I'm just...
That thought alone is making me go back to the McLaren versus Red Bull.
Yeah, I know. This is my problem is, like, I don't think it's not even the value that we're giving up. It's just a bet that I would hate to lose that way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Lando sneaks in.
I would hate to lose the bet where Lando just ends up, and it's not like, again, I don't think, if I had to, I'd say I don't think he's going to. But I'd rather be taking a longer bet than hoping that Lando doesn't kill our short bet by just getting into the points, because like he obviously could, especially if something happens. What'll happen is like Albon and Behrman will crash into each other, and Lando will just like end up like getting through all that mess and getting all those positions, right? Like obviously that would happen, right?
FBI on TikTok. I have Stroll in points. He's good on this track. But he's not driving a car this weekend. We're not betting on Stroll.
They figured it out, but I'm not going to bet on that Stroll. Yeah, what do the people think?
That's it. That's the only thought we have is Stroll on the points. But what if he pits to do a practice procedure again?
Yeah. No, I think you're right. Like I didn't want those wounds are still fresh. I don't want it to deter us from betting, but I think I'm not going to go back.
I think I can take a week off Lance Stroll.
Lance Stroll. That's fair.
Wow, am I actually leaning towards the McLaren over Red Bull? Like your risk is Checo?
It wouldn't be like should you understand my perspective on the McLaren at the very least? Is like I think it's a pretty safe bet. Like I don't think the car sometimes all three of the other major constructors at the top, for whatever reason, sometimes they get in the car on race day on a Sunday, and it's just like the pace just isn't there for whatever reason. They're like, oh fuck, this car's shit. Like that's what they say. It generally isn't the problem. The McLaren doesn't have that problem, and it's because it seems to be the best all-around performer, right? So it's not going to just fall victim to like a setup change or certain track characteristics. The reason it looked like they were slow was because of the lack of mechanical grip that they had. And I think that's not going to be an issue with all of the track evolution that's been happening, plus like whatever the 50, 60 laps of rubber that are going to go down. So that's just why it just seems like a safe bet somehow. You know what I mean?
I like the McLaren.
I know you do.
I just don't know if it's smarter to try to pick him against Charles Charles or him against Checo.
No, if the idea is to take the Ferrari, like all of a sudden now I'm a little bit shy on the minus 250 bet, to be completely honest. I'm like,
I think I am too.
That might be like it shouldn't be that short actually. It might, which is weird to say. It actually definitely should be if the guy is in first and third, obviously.
It should be shorter. That's what I liked it. Yeah, I thought it should be 350.
It probably should be, but like I'm just saying, like even now for me, just thinking about that risk of, yeah, Oscar could win. Like I think we both are on the same page. We think Oscar could win, and it wouldn't be crazy. Like what's Lando Norris points? What's that? Is that minus money?
Yeah, big time. It's like 900 or something
to get into the points. So like fuck, like he could get into P8 if right.
700.
It's not that crazy. Yeah. Now that scenario is that. The scenario that I'm painting there is like a doomsday scenario where Carlos finishes in fifth.
Right.
But he could finish in fifth. Like 100% he could.
Okay, so let's take a step backwards here. We're both saying we like the McLaren. We're both saying we like Piastri. He's a race winner. Yeah. He's in form. So why are we going to say that we're now trying to pick between him and the Ferraris? Let's just pick him against the Red Bulls.
You done? Yeah, fine. Let's just that's the right pick. I think that's the right
I think
pick.
So, and it's better. And it's a better line.
The only reason that I've been shy about that is because of the weird like changing form that we've seen in the Red Bull. Like I mean, obviously they haven't been competitive really since what was it? Fucking the Spanish Grand Prix. When was the last time they won? I don't know.
Yeah. Well, they had the graphic Verstappen winless in 6 races. They needed a graphic to show up.
They did. Yeah, they made the floor change. I'm like, am I concerned that this like little? They didn't make a massive change. Like they obviously.
No, this was a minor step.
Part of the car.
They think
this was a minor step.
This is more about Singapore. This floor that they're bringing in and this change they're making.
You know what? I take it back. No, McLaren is still light years ahead. The package that McLaren has is still actually like a small change to the geometry of the floor is not going to be the difference between Checo beating Oscar at this point. No,
Checo's going to be fighting George.
Yeah,
and Max is going to be fighing Lewis.
Hey, Checo and George are going to fucking run into each other.
And Max and Lewis are going to run into each other.
Yeah, no, I do agree with that. Like
we're switching this up.
When the briefing is going to be all about making sure that we beat the Mercedes, and the Mercedes is going to be let's beat the Red Bull, and
because also Lando, like their whole we got to protect Max against Lando catching up. Lando's out of this, so you're right. Red Bull's whole weekend now is fuck Mercedes.
Yeah, like there's no strategy. Like Checo is not going to get some sort of strategy advantage being in P4 with Max in P6 either. Like the risk is Max ends up beating Oscar, which I don't know, I guess could happen, right? But
Yeah, but
it just doesn't seem likely.
yeah, it doesn't seem likely. Max
It just
finished
doesn't
sixth
seem likely.
last week.
I know, and we were on that, and I'm not.
That was
I
sharp.
like. I like him more. Yeah, that was very sharp. I like him more here because of the change, but I don't think that that's enough to make up the delta that they've got in race pace and on grid position. So I don't know.
I think I could. I think I'd be
So
okay
we
with
got
these three.
yes, we got Albon, Behrman. Okay,
Albon in the points, Behrman over Hulk, and McLaren over Red Bull.
this is not. It's not fair to say this. I don't want to like start throwing. Like this is. Remember what happened in Miami where we just took Alex Albon and took him in a group and then like on like it was the second last lap like he just drove off the fucking track.
Yeah.
And it's just like for whatever reason it's we take the Albon bet because we've been on Albon quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the race that he just like something happens to him or he does something like his car blows off the track in Australia, he drives off the track in Miami, he has a power unit failure. There's another time in the last like
things that are out of his
races.
character generally because we like
Yes,
we like him to be
he's
a
very
reliable.
consistent.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's very consistent, and Williams has taken massive strides. Like I'm not. It just that's. I think that's. And then to have him and Behrman, that's the only reason why I was. It's not a. It doesn't make sense. It's not a reason not to take the bet. We have to. I think we have to bet in a vacuum in some ways, but.
Mm-hmm.
I just
I'm
don't
not
like
scared
anything
of
else. Like what?
I'm not scared.
The only other bet I was. The only other bet I was going to make would be instead of the Albon bet, you take Alonso. You have more position, but I'm still fine with it.
And I don't want it to. If we had a bet of Alonso without Albon involved, that would be
a chalk, which is impossible, but I guess they could. Lando theoretically bumps Albon for that final point scoring position. Do you think Albon is in and Colapinto is in? Or sorry, Albon's out and Colapinto's in?
I think Albon finishes this race ahead of Colapinto.
Yeah, like that's a very reasonable take. I think it's like minus 250 to the plus money for the rookie.
And I
like,
think if there's moving and shaking, then I think Alonso's moving backwards. Like if there's moving and shaking where Lando's coming through all the way, I think Alonso's moving backwards.
You think he's getting ahead of Alonso? That's a long way to go, but fair.
If we're going to see that moving and shaking, or Lando's just stuck.
I think that's equally as likely that he just gets stuck.
I like these three.
You came in with conviction. I'm kind of happy we got off the Ferrari, to be completely honest, but you felt really good about those other two. I'm in agreement. So
I think the fact that we're getting more value on the McLaren too, and it's smarter. We're not picking them against the team that's ahead of them. I didn't really think when I wrote it down, I didn't think about Lando like sneaking in and getting those 2 points that would just mess everything up. That would be a devastating way to lose it. Which is very
in hindsight, like in hindsight, if that did happen, you'd be like, "Fuck, of course!" Like that's
right.
You guys in the fastest car theoretically. So the other one, so that was the match bet, and then we had Behrman was the longest, right? So we got points finish. Albon minus 163.
Well, he's the longest, yeah.
And the longest is Behrman, yeah.
Yeah.
This is just like it just automatically puts it into a same game parlay. Like what the fuck? Why does this do this?
No, it does it, but keep scrolling, and I think they're individual. If it just like puts them all individuals below.
So can I just like delete the?
Or within the same game parlay, you can put wagers on each one individually.
Yeah, no, okay, hold on. This is weird that it did this. Okay,
they're big. They're just rolling out the same game parlay.
Yeah, man, they love it.
Well, and that's on this sports book, and nobody is watching. But if you are in the shadows and I just don't see you, feel free to check out our sponsor, BetStamp, and signupexpert.com. Signupexpert.com. Signupexpert.com/F1000. You can see our favorite sports books. We have them all ranked there. And that website will help you sign up for whichever ones you like. A lot of them offer free bets for newcomers, or there's always a lot of events that they have going on that Sign Up Expert can help you take advantage of all of them. So if you are here and are enjoying what we do here, click the link. It really helps us out. Thank you.
I like that.
Yeah.
Is this a 400, 300, 300? Is that what we're looking at?
I think it's split down the middle.
You like the threes? Yeah.
And who gets the extra $1?
I just put it on McLaren.
Okay.
Okay, buddy, I'm done. McLaren over Red Bull in a race match bet. Albon to finish in the points. Berriman over Hulkenberg. Everything stayed the same in terms of odds.
Okay. Iyad, I see you. You're here right at the end. Where I know we did it at a different time this week. We got to we couldn't wake up in the middle of the night to do it in our normal time, but you made it. What happened? What happened to Joe last week, man?
Oh, don't bring that up with this guy. This poor guy.
No, it's my guy. No, he's my guy. No, it was
you don't need to make him relive that.
It was a sharp.
You don't need. It was a super sharp lead, and it's insane that happened the way it did. My God, what a way to lose money.
Oh, he snagged Leclerc to win plus 350 yesterday. That's sharp.
Yesterday, that's extremely sharp. I love that. I hope he gets it. I really do hope he gets it, because that doesn't affect us at all. I'm happy with that.
I think you're Tifosi too. I think because you were pretty happy for Leclerc and Monza.
He's a horse guy. All right, buddy, we got it.
All right. Quick recap. McLaren over Red Bull, minus 188, 334. Berriman over Hulk, minus 120, 333. And Albon in the points, minus 163, 333. That's the show.